Hello, everyone. My name is April Burns Norris, and I am the founder and executive director of a nonprofit organization that I created in response to my experience with some of the injustices within the affordable housing, social services, as well as the um, legal system as it applies to low income individuals as well as individuals with disabilities. Um, in the process of doing the necessary work to get my organization established, which it has been a very um, eye-opening experience for one, and it is also very time consuming, especially when you're doing most of it alone, or if you're getting pushback from people that could possibly help instead of hurt you. That actually these people are um, expected to help you. They're actually paid to help, but a lot of us don't realize that the help is hurting us. Um, I'm also a mother of two. I have a 27-year-old daughter. I think she's 27. Yeah, she's 27 years old. I was as well as a 17-year-old daughter. I have two grandchildren. A granddaughter who is 6 and grandson who is 4. And I am just, you know, to be to be honest, considering my background, which is why I kind of gravitated towards this industry to where I can to be able to help others who are going through things that seem to be affecting a certain population of people more than others. Um, there's not a lot of assistance, helpful assistance, and the assistance that is there is hard to find and locate, and you get a lot of passing the buck when it comes to these vulnerable populations of people that I'm speaking of. Um, one of those populations are our children. And right now we are dealing with an issue here in Knoxville, Tennessee. For those of you who are not familiar, Anthony Thompson Jr. was murdered in the bathroom at Austin East High School by a Knoxville Police Department officer, I believe. Um, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on with that. And in the process of that, they realized that the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement, I don't know if that's what they're calling theirs, but a lot of places theirs are memorandums of understanding. These are the guidelines that are expected to be followed when we agree to allow people to come in and provide a service, a public service. Well, the MOA for Knox County schools is very, very vague, and it has been causing a lot of confusion as to who has jurisdiction to do what when it comes to our children. Um, I just recently moved back to Knoxville after relocating to Middle Tennessee back in 2013. I had to come back because my dad, who just passed away on May the 28th, he was suffering from stage 4 prostate cancer. And I fortunately I wasn't tied into a lease or anything because I've been fighting against a lot of housing discrimination. So it made it possible for me to come and provide him the care he needed until he passed recently. Um, while I've been here to care for him, I also um, witnessed what happened behind this officer involved murder of a child. at school. One of the places that I always thought children were supposed to be safe at. Um, I am a person with a disability. I like to give that disclaimer up front because when I start talking, I do get somewhat passionate and I may veer off a little bit, but I take good notes. So even if I get a little off topic, um, I'll go back over everything that I intended to speak about to make sure I didn't leave anything out. Um, let's see. Once again, I'm creating this video because when I went to the first school board meeting that I had ever attended, in response to this was the first one I had ever attended, period. But I was going in response to the, it was like people were not wanting to allow, when I say people, let me say the school board members in Knox County were arguing or debating over whether or not the public needed to be involved in helping them create a new MOA. It turned into an argument as to whether or not people were trying to defund the police and everything else, when the reality of it is that the argument is based on the fact of how vague the MOA is, causing confusion over who is supposed to be coming in and handling the children. Well, in the process of all of that, we realized that a lot of these officers are not even trained to deal with children who are experiencing trauma or crises. And everybody knows that, that's why, it seems like they think sending more officers are the solution to what's going on within the Black communities, or the it's another word I was gonna use, but the fact that zip code matters, and there's so many documentaries about this, and when you hear the school board speak about their districts as though one district is better than the other and should be allowed to not have to have rules in place just because it's a different type of district, or zip code matters, follow the money. Wherever the more money is going, that's where the schools are going to have the more resources available, depending on what people are earning, the people that live in that community. Well, if you're living in a low income area, you're not going to get a lot of funding and support for the schools. And it tends to be that poverty causes a lot of the crimes that go on, quote unquote crimes that go on in the low income communities. However, it's not always the people that live there that cause these incidents. I guess the thing I'm trying to do right now, in response to a news reporter that approached me at the school board meeting, she asked questions about my, statements that I had made in reference to what was going on and what I felt needed to be done. Being that I used to work for Knox County Schools as the in-school suspension instructor at Carter Middle School back when my oldest daughter attended middle school there. And while doing that job, I also was assigned to one of the most behaviorally challenged bus routes in Knox County, which happened to be coming from East Knoxville. This is when they were doing the busing and beginning to do busing from East Knoxville to Carter Middle School. And so I guess because of me being myself, coming from the same area, being affected by some of the systemic injustices such as targeting and entrapment of the young Black males back in the 70s and 80s, to remove them from the Black families, in my opinion, based on verifiable facts, public record also. I have experienced not having a father because he was gone to prison for, early in my life. And I also experienced being a 15-year-old single mother and high school dropout. Um, so some of the issues that a lot of the children that I would encounter in the in-school suspension, room, um, I had a ability to connect with them from my own personal experiences, and enough to make them understand that even though life has been rough for me as well, and nothing is perfect, it does get better. And being that my daughter was attending school there with these children, that also gave me a way of building a bridge um, for communication with them. And so the children actually grew to love me. And what I realized, because first of all, just because I had it hard doesn't mean that I was going to give it to them easy. No, I really made them understand the importance of them trying to do better and not to allow themselves to just keep getting in trouble, because it would follow them, regardless of thinking it's just middle school. It doesn't matter nowadays. Your record will follow you, and especially if they really want to um, press a charge later as an adult, they have ways of going back into the school records. That's why I referenced the preschool to prison pipeline in the title or the description. This is real, guys, and I'm only telling you all this because I see that we have basically been denied the ability or the right to raise our children. And in my opinion, this began in back when, they started allowing kids to call child protective services because they got a whooping. You know, oh, they just wore that out. But it just bothers me that we can't choose how to discipline our children, yet they can kill them. And then their policies justify it. My birthright doesn't justify it for me to feel that my child is getting out of hand and I may need to give them a spanking. Now, don't get me wrong, spanking is not the solution to everything. I believe communication rules the nation. Sometimes most children just want to be heard. And what we have to realize is that a lot of the families and homes that these children are living in, they don't have a lot of stability there. Some of the children are probably more mature and more stable than the parents or whoever they're living with. Um, so we have, I guess with me having this understanding, I didn't automatically take everything that the children did personal, or I didn't really take it as making it be their identity, because I understood that before those children even made it to school, they were dealing with things that they can't even talk about, because they know that these things in the hands of the wrong people could hurt their family even more. Let's just say that. So back to the bus route, me being on, they assigned me to one of the, you know, most violent prone bus routes in the school system. They even paid me double than what they had paid all the other bus aides because of the amount of stuff that was going on. And because of what I did in the in-school suspension room, they trusted me to do that. And I did it well for the 3 years that I was there. However, the children still love me, and I used to have to run them out of the classroom. Now go to class. You can't stay in here. What the reason was behind that is the children knew I cared. I listened to them. I would let them explain their side of the story. See, we get so used to the do as I say, not as I do, or because I said so stuff that we can't be doing that. We can't do that and then expect the children to understand how to handle life when they do become adults or when they're around other people. We need to be able to explain why we're saying whatever we're saying to them or doing whatever we're doing. But unfortunately, a lot of children don't even have access to parents that are capable of doing this at home. So when we experienced the issues with the murder of the student at Austin East, Anthony Thompson Jr., the the school board's response was to give them like an hour and a half of counseling the students. That's it. An hour and a half of counseling. Mind you, this district has seen several deaths of students this year in this area, um, to the point to where it's like it should be a real public health crisis of some sort, in my opinion. But it shouldn't be tailored to only address this school district, because what I do know is that just because a lot of us move out of an area doesn't change the experiences that we experienced while we were there. And this area has been gentrified quite a bit over time. And so the mindsets of the people that were there before, dealing with the poverty and the, seeming like you were just boxed in and no opportunities and nothing available for the children to do, really, to keep them busy and occupied or to encourage them to um, think outside the box and to see bigger and better things that they're capable of doing instead of just settling for what they see all around them. When none of these opportunities are being presented to the children, why are we expecting them to know how to go and make these things happen on their own? And the sad part is that Anthony Thompson Jr. never had the opportunity to even see if he could do it on his own as an adult. The police murdered him because he was going through a crisis. Where I'm not going to get into the details of that, but there's a lot of questions. And with the history of the police department, the history of some of the members on the school board, and I want to talk about that. It really bothers me that they have spent at least the last 3 or 4 school board meetings arguing over whether or not we need a third party facilitator to guide or monitor how they receive community input. Why is this such a hard decision to make? I feel as though if the school board had the answers, I can vouch for the fact that violence this is nothing new in this area or in Knox County schools at all. Nationwide, period, worldwide, violence is nothing new. I'm wondering how they can be so against letting someone else come in to help just make sure things are being done on an unbiased level. Like, we're really trying to do something different to get a different result. But to see these school board members come up with these reasons that are, in my opinion, they don't even make sense. One of the main reasons is we shouldn't be spending taxpayers' dollars hiring a third party facilitator to do something that the school board members should be able to do on their own. Well, I can agree and disagree with that, because yeah, ideally it would have been great that we had a system, a MOA set in place, or a policy and procedure set in place to address these things when they first became obvious that there's some confusion as to who has jurisdiction over the children when an incident occurs. Does the school officers lose that jurisdiction, or who's in control? It would have been nice if that was available, but it wasn't. And so for this to be the response at this point, and I think that was one of the, I think the county mayor, uh, what's his little name? I'm gonna tell you, okay, listen, y'all. I got so much to share with y'all, and I'm just gonna really Mayor Jacobs. Mayor Jacobs, who is actually better known as Kane from the WWE. He is the county mayor here in Knoxville. He's the one that's saying the school board should be able to do it on their own. But the thing is that he has no jurisdiction to make those decisions. I'm finding out a lot. I'm finding out that the school board doesn't work for Knox County Schools. They're a separate entity. Um, I also found out that one of the school board members, who is the most loudest, the one that seems gives the appearance of being a school board bully, Mike McMillan. And I say this, I don't mean any harm or ill intentions when I say the things that I'm about to say. However, I'm speaking up for the voiceless. I'm speaking up for the children. I'm speaking up for whoever is not able to see what's happening here. We elected the school board members. They work for us. They speak for us. But now it's like they think that even though without us they wouldn't be there, they don't really need our voices. And they want to maintain control over what happens to our children. And what I had to do was really go over the last school board hearing and just jot down a few things that different members stated out of their mouth. And there's a few of them that really, I feel like Mr. McMillan has some puppet strings attached to, and I can explain why shortly, or a history of seeing this about to snowball into him leading from the back. It's kind of like he's only one person, but he's influencing so many other people on that board, even though they know what he's saying is wrong or they don't agree with. It seems like they're afraid to speak their voices. Mr. McMillan is the one saying that, he spoke to Mayor Jacobs, and he's saying that the school board members should be able to facilitate on their own. And if they're not able to do that, he said he had to, he said if they're not able to make to make that decision without hiring a third party facilitator, he didn't feel like they were able to do their job to manage their people. That's what he said. I'm trying to get it word for word. Yeah, he said, Mr. McMillan said, if you can't determine what needs to be done without a facilitator, I don't know how well you can represent your people. The whole issue of the MOA, this isn't a new problem. So it's been a lot of not managing people. Representing people. You ain't been representing your people well, Knox County School Board, because there's been a lot of failing going on and a lot of covering up going on and a lot of overlooking things just to pretend like you care, but you know you really don't. I'm saying that because their main issue is that they don't feel like taxpayers' dollars should be used for an outside facilitator. Well, there was just a grant that the cops department, the cops program through the Department of Justice. I've got things wrote down on my little blackboard over there. That's why I'm looking this way. But the grant was called the 2021 School Violence Prevention Program. It's for the acronym Students, Teachers, and Officers Preventing School Violence Act of 2018. And it's called STOP. STOP, School Violence Act of 2018. The grant was created to improve security at schools and on school grounds through evidence-based school safety programs. And this is for K through 12, primary and secondary schools and school grounds. Some of the things that could be done with this grant, and this was for each grant, $500,000 per award. And I think they had 56 million available nationwide. 500,000 that was available that Knox County could have applied for if they were really concerned about using taxpayer funding for a third-party facilitator. Because it says right in the guidelines for the grant that is for the coordination with law enforcement, training for local law enforcement officers to prevent student violence against others and self, and any other measure that the COPS office determines may provide a significant improvement in security. I never heard them. And then listen, I'm not a member of the school board. But if I know this information because of the work that I do in my nonprofit, why does the school board not know that? That's a problem. Why does the Mayor Jacobs, the wrestler, the WWE wrestler, the violence, okay. You don't even try to get any of the funding for the violence prevention? And my issue is this also. The current MOA, it doesn't include anything about the needs and demands from the communities most affected. And the fact that they are spending all this time debating, it just really confirms that they don't want to hear anything helpful because they don't want to fix the problem. They're not even attempting to access funding, money specifically for this issue. But they think they can handle it on their own? I think not. These are our children, not theirs. And from my understanding, even though Mr. Mike McMillan has a history of, he was a school teacher at Carter until he resigned back in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. October 2008. He wasn't the greatest teacher. Let's just talk about it. He wasn't the greatest teacher, and that's verified by the fact that whoever the superintendent was at that time, in 2008, Jim McIntyre. Jim McIntyre had attempted to revoke his tenure because of his failure to perform. It wasn't just a vague type failure to perform. This was a pattern of practice, including basically tampering with test scores, of the students, not telling the students not to even come to class on the day of the test because, he was going to do a different one. See, he's been wanting to do it his way for a long time. And I guess he got away with it for a long time until Mr. McIntyre came down on him. The same on October the 31st of 2008, they issued him the letter to let him know that what their intentions were. That same day, he submitted a handwritten statement saying, "To whom it may concern," and it's dated October 31st, 2008. "I, Michael M. McMillan, do hereby," and see, it had something else wrote in here, then they marked through it, but you can still read it. It says, "Do hereby state any intentions to retire." But what he corrected it to say, "I, Michael M. McMillan, do hereby retire from the Knox County Schools and pursue my full retirement benefits from May the 24th, 2008. It's got a signature and it says received on October the 31st, 2008 at 1:04 by K. Good. Now, the reason that got brought up is because somebody, let's see, Brian Hornback, who has a, I guess he does news reporting of some sort, or like just sharing the truth with people. On July the 15th of 2020, he wrote the following: "During the Knox County School Board meeting this evening, School Board member Mike McMillan referred to when he was at high school, presumably when he was a teacher. A walk down memory lane here is that he retired on October the 31st, 2008, which was because of an intent by the then superintendent of Knox County Schools to call for a revocation of McMillan's tenure. Here are the screenshots of the actual documents." And so the person that is adamant about having all the answers and solutions to what our children need or don't need, he was supposed to have been fired, not retired. But because of how the system is set up, things like this tend to happen without us being aware. And that is even more confirmation as to why we need third-party facilitators, period, as well as we needing Community Bridges Incorporated to come in and help these officers understand how to deal with our children. Because the thing I would like to hear the school board answer is, how is it that you all allow Knox County Schools to utilize me to work with these children without a weapon by myself, but you won't even make sure that the officers that you send in with telling them they have a right to kill our children, you don't even make sure that they have half of the training for crisis prevention and intervention and de-escalation that I was required to maintain on an ongoing basis. And since you haven't done that, at this point, it's time for it no longer to be your choice in the matter, your decision to make. I really feel as though the way they talk in these school board meetings, and I suggest that you all start listening to these school board meetings. Mr. McMillan speaks about our children and us in the districts as though we are his livestock that he has a history of abusing. And when I say that, let me go get my receipts together. When he ran for Knox County School Board in 8th District back on, this was a post from Knox News, on February the 12th, 2012. It states right here his occupation, retired teacher, incumbent school board member, family. He's single. You don't hear anything about a child, a wife, or anything. Single. Education. Okay, he has some education. He has education, but he doesn't have any lived experience. Personal. Raises beef cattle. Enjoys antique and estate auctions. Golf. Top issues. Now, here's where I want him to revisit what he said when he ran for this position. He said that he wants to make sure that all children can realize their learning potential so they can move on to the next level. All children? Or is it just District 8? Because you seem to only be focusing on District 8 at the school board meeting. And he said that he would continue supporting programs that provide students with individual attention. Well, I don't see that happening across the board. And even in the middle of the crisis that our children are experiencing across the school board, but specifically in the district of East Knoxville, District 1, I believe, they only got offered an hour and a half of therapy. That's not acceptable. And then he said, this is one of the things that I noticed back. I mean, there's several things that have been published. He says here, he will work to provide a middle school for the Gibbs community by creating a plan. He's going to create the plan between the board, county commission, and mayor. That's what he's going to do. Okay. Just for transparency purposes. I mean, because we don't want folks to be saying that we're just spreading gossip. Now, back to the beef cattle. Because other than the students that he had when he taught, that he didn't even value their education enough to make them come to take the standardized testing, he went above what the parents would even. That's a parent's decision. You see what I'm saying? Like these are overstepping boundaries. On top of the fact that when they found a adult magazine in the closet at the school that he claims that he got from a student, but he didn't want to tell who he got it from. He was saying like he found them looking at it and he took it from them. Anywho, so back to the beef cattle and why I feel like he's treating us like his livestock. And see, it would be different if, some people, it's not a secret. A lot of times animals get treated better than some humans, specifically Black people. Yeah. This man has a record of animal cruelty. I'm just going to read it. District 8 school board member Mike McMillan is due in General Sessions Court this Thursday morning, January 16th, after being cited for animal cruelty on December the 8th, 2019. Now, this article was written by Larry Van Gilder, that's how you say his name, on January 14th of 2020. It says the animal control officer who issued the citation to court noted, quote unquote, horses, cattle, and mules were suffering. McMillan admitted, check this out. McMillan admitted he did not feed his cows. According to the officer, who also wrote, no water could be found. McMillan told the officer, now let's go back. This article was written on January the 14th, 2020. He went to court on this December the 8th of 2019. So that's a couple years ago. He says, McMillan told the officer he was sick and only had one farmhand to help him. He said it took more than two people to take care of the animals. Okay, so the guy that feels like the school board that has had all the time and opportunity to get it together to figure out how to come up with something to help keep her kids safe. The guy that doesn't think, we need an outside person to come in and help facilitate how we're going to get the community involved. That same guy is over here trying to justify him not feeding his animals by saying that he's been sick and he only had one farmhand to help him. Well, maybe you should have asked for some help. It sounds like you got a problem with asking for help. And then you want to make other people follow your patterns of not allowing help. If you had the solutions, you wouldn't be in the boat you're in. The difference is you can't be treating our children like your cattle anymore. Because that's what you've been doing. And the fact that you don't even have children of your own lets me know that you're not qualified to understand what's going on or to make the decisions for our children. And at this point, now that we know that we've elected them, he's up for re-election in 2024, I believe. He has to go. I'll take his seat. What I need to do, go move to Carter area. I'm just saying, we're going to find somebody for your seat, Mr. McMillan. If you even look, I'm not going to say that. Let me finish the article. Whew, and yes, it does. He said it took more than two people to take care of the animals. And it takes more than the school board to take care of these children in Knox County. It says this was not McMillan's first citation. A criminal court worker said records show he was cited by animal control on October the 23rd and November the 22nd of last year. There are 3 docket numbers with the provided violations for this Thursday morning's court date. 1032177B, and that's for the livestock fencing. 1032178B, that's for the animal care cruelty. 1032179B, and that's for animals running at large. It says McMillan's Thorn Grove Pike Farm in the non-commercial cattle services industry. The company information database website, BuzzFile, lists McMillan's Thorn Grove Pike Farm in the non-commercial cattle service industry. Repeated calls to McMillan were unanswered. Larry Van Gilder is the business/government editor for Knox TN Today. Now, the article by itself was enough to show this man is not qualified to be on the school board making decisions about our children. On top of the fact that, all this stuff about his trying to get him to, they was going to fire his ass, basically. That was the goal, was to fire him. But let me tell you what Mr. McMillan turned around and did. However, I guess his little friends that he has with the mayors and other people, there's no date specifically on this. This is a copy of the evaluation of Superintendent James McIntyre that Mike McMillan submitted after he became a board member, a school board member. Now, remember McIntyre was the one that wanted to pull his tenure. Well, now that he's on the board, now he's got something to say. See, they play chess. This is years of stuff in the makings, okay? But the things that he pointed out about McIntyre, I would say these same things apply to him. I'm gonna read you the whole letter, and then we're gonna hit some points. I wish I could say Dr. McIntyre has improved his performance as superintendent of the Knox County schools. Unfortunately, in my own opinion, unfortunately, my own opinion is we are at a low point in his administration. In his own self evaluation, Dr. McIntyre refers to the survey of teachers who disagreed with the notion that their school district was a good place to work and learn. Dr. McIntyre referred to the 48.3% of teachers who disagreed with that particular notion and confessed it was a quote unquote rather stinging indictment. As I recall, if one added together all the agrees in total, it amounted to more than 70%. Obviously, that would be worse than a stinging indictment. Dr. McIntyre claims he intends to work hard to regain the trust and support of our educators, yet I believe this would be an impossible task for him. Dr. McIntyre has become less an effective leader than a polarizing figure. As I have stated in past evaluations, I don't see Dr. McIntyre able to seek additional funding from either the mayor or the county commission, at least not successfully. It is my own opinion that Dr. McIntyre has lost not only the confidence and support of the vast majority of our teachers, but the public at large. Nor do I believe Dr. McIntyre has made any real effort to address those concerns I have expressed in my past evaluations. Dr. McIntyre persists in attempting to micromanage just about everything in the administration, and information still trickles out very slowly to board members. In fact, information still arrives just hours prior to board meetings, which I fail to see as being transparent to both the public and local news media. Information sent to the board members, especially if we are expected to vote on a particular measure, should be sent well in advance of a board meeting so that board members can properly absorb it and make well-informed decision and make a well-informed decision. Dr. McIntyre seems to work hard and attends a host of school-related activities, yet I don't think any amount of public relations will solve the problems caused by his own style of management. The board has become mirrored in attempting to protect the superintendent instead of legislating. Forcing votes on extending his contract unnecessarily and declaring non-existent emergencies to get his way also send messages to the public, which are not soon forgotten. The bad news from test scores and the increased burdens placed upon teachers, not by the state of Tennessee, but by Dr. McIntyre and his administration, are not conducive to building public confidence, much less garnering support. In my own opinion, Dr. McIntyre has done as much as he can here and ought to consider looking for opportunities outside Knox County. Well, I think everything that he was saying in there has now ricocheted and actually applies to him. I mean, I could go and bullet point that, and I may do it later if necessary, but you can hear a lot of it was like mirroring, like deflection, or maybe then he became the thing that he claimed he was against. I'm saying all of that to say this. Mr. McMillan, if you are saying that you are truly, when you ran for office, you said that you're gonna make sure that all children can realize their learning potential so that they can move to the next level, and you will continue supporting programs that provide students with individual attention. And you're gonna do this. You're gonna get a middle school built for the Gibbs community by creating a plan between the board, county commission, and mayor. I would ask that you utilize some of those skills that you had when you were running, and so and follow through on those promises when it relates to all of the children, especially the children that are suffering the most right now, which happens to be the ones in District 1. And when you are pushing your vote and basically preventing other people from being able to vote without fear of retaliation, is what it seems like. Um, you're interfering with our children's ability to do these things that you said you were going to support. They can't realize their learning potential so they can move to the next level when the cops come into the schools and kill them because nobody knows who has jurisdiction because of the vagueness of your MOA. You know, you can continue supporting programs that provide students with individual attention. That's what I'm saying we need to do, and that's a service that I'm willing to provide. And Knox County Schools has paid me to provide in the past, and I did it well. And if you're really concerned about funding, like you said you were, why did you all not apply for that $500,000 that was available for the school violence prevention program, the Department of Justice? I don't think it's about money. I think it's about control. You all are wanting to continue to control the people as though they're your beef cattle. We're not. And it's time for the people that you have that basically just repeat and mirror everything you say to prevent votes. I mean, to prevent things from being passed, such as um, the need for the third party facilitator. I guess I'm gonna have to do a little background check on those people too, because we cannot continue to allow you all to decide what's best for our children when what you have done thus far for years has led us here. It's time for you all to allow people that are able and willing and ready, able and willing to help, to get involved. They are our children. We did birth them. I think we should have some legal rights to speak up and see how we think things need to be addressed, being that we are the ones that carried them. And we create. Mr. McMillan, do you have any children? If so, what schools do they go to? Did they ever experience any of the things that are going on in Knox County schools? I know for a fact that Carter Middle School had a whole bunch of violence going on there in between 2005 and 2008. Yeah. So we're not going to do this. This district is better or worse than the other district. The MOA needs to be revised, and you need to allow the community to come in and help. You need to reach out to some outside sources to get some funding so that you can compensate the help, because we don't work for free anymore. And even like you said with your livestock, you've been sick. Guess what? My dad just passed away from stage 4 prostate cancer. And I had to take time off from caring for my dad that I do feed and I do make sure he has water. I had to take time off from that just to come to speak at the school board meeting, to only be given 5 minutes to get it all out, and then to listen to Mr. McMillan go on and on and on and on about why he doesn't feel like a third party needs to be involved. Well, I feel like, Mr. McMillan, you want to try to continue controlling people as though they're your property. And enough is enough. So, as far as I'm concerned, regardless of how you all decide to handle the MOA, 2024, if you're still around, we're going to vote you out. Now, in the meantime, if anyone wants to reach out to the Department of Justice, if they may give an extension on applying for that grant, because I think the deadline was earlier this month, we have some teams ready to go. There's so many people that are speaking up and out right now, specifically Kwame Brown, the ex NBA basketball player who was drafted right out of high school. I forget exactly what year, but him and a few of his other NBA teammates and associates are trying to create programs for these children that are going without, and people are trying to use their own experience and their ways of overcoming that to give back to the communities. We need you all to allow us. Kwame Brown and Devin George, they're both actively working on programs. Devin George even has a co-op affordable housing facility that he's developed that houses, single parents and children and that are going through maybe because we do understand that we have an affordable housing crisis right now. It's been going on for a while. People are not able to earn enough to really afford to pay for housing. And then when you have systemic discrimination going on within the housing industry that's causing a lot of homelessness, I'm speaking from experience. You're leaving a lot of people without the foundation necessary to be successful or to be able to realize their learning potential so they can move on to the next level. How can children move on to the next level or see their learning potential when they don't even have a bed to sleep in? Individual attention. It's time for you all to step back and make room for the people that can actually understand the children based on their own experiences, as well as their professional experiences. Life can teach you a lot if you're willing to learn from it. And Mr. McMillan, right now, it seems like you can't even handle your beef cattle. Why are you trying to handle our children and our communities? I really think it's time for you to go. Google Kwame Brown and Devin George and their the program they have there. That facility that they've set up is very possible to be replicated across nationwide. We need that here for Knoxville. They're providing affordable housing. They're providing a food co-op where like a grocery store right in the same building so that the people that are living there can work at the grocery store. You see how you if you help people the right way, it can all work out well. And that's also keeping the families together so that the parents are not out trying to work 2 and 3 jobs just to be able to afford to have housing, making the kids raise themselves. That's what's happening. And we want to change that, but we need you all to allow it and to work with us. Now, not only did I just bring all of the stuff about Mr. McMillan, but I'm also speaking from, these are policies that are out now. Practices and modern policing, highlighting contemporary community policing innovation. This is from the Office of Community Oriented Policing Services and the IACP. The IACP is I saw the breakdown of it. Hold on a minute. International Association of Chiefs of Police. Okay. So they're saying that, let me see, 15 U.S. law enforcement agencies that participated in the Advancing 21st Century Policing Initiative. They're giving them all off. Albany, New York, Arlington, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Camden County, New Jersey, Columbia, South Carolina, Dora, Florida, Gun Lake Tribal, um, Louisville, Kentucky's on there. Okay, what it is, it is kind of showing the practices and programs of these agencies led to the development of key considerations and case study examples of implementing contemporary community policing strategies within the topics of community participation and leadership, police youth engagement, vulnerable populations, policing in small rural and tribal communities, and officer safety and wellness. The following are highlights from the Practices and Modern Policing series, which includes 5 publications and 3 videos. Some of the main topics are community participation. This is the first one they got. Community participation and leadership. Community policing programs that facilitate community participation and leadership are a means through which law enforcement agencies can demonstrate the transparency and fairness on which procedural justice relies and engage the community as partners in public safety. Regardless of what you all on the Knox County School Board are debating over, your bosses, the International Association of Police, of Chiefs of Police, Knox County Police Department, Knox County Sheriffs, whoever is involved, y'all need to get the school board, get Mr. McMillan under control before he destroys the whole board, because we won't be silenced. I won't be silenced. Google me, check. Oh yeah, we could go to court. I got enough of cases already that I'm dealing with for things that I've had to address personally and with other people before I had to come back here. But I will add this on my list. I don't mind, as I've done already. But I'm trying to give people the information necessary to see what's really going on, as well as to give the school board the opportunity to get their stuff together. I'm not making this stuff up. This is and I'm gonna read it to you. But if the first thing they said is the community participation and leadership, why is it so difficult for Knox County? I can tell you some of those reasons why, but that's another video. Okay, best practices and recommendation. Collaborate from the very beginning to create community policing programs that stimulate community participation and leadership. Involve community members from the start. Boom. Consult community members to determine their needs before establishing programs. Boom. And invite them to co-create proposed programs. Boom. The result will be a program that involves the community as much as the police. That's what that's International Association of Chiefs of Police have come up with out of all of those other police departments. Embrace diversity. Community policing structure should be as diverse as communities whose interests they represent. All committees, councils, and boards should have a demographic makeup that reflects the larger community's diversity of race and ethnicity, age, gender, sexual orientation, faith, physical ability, income, and other characteristics. Police youth engagement. It goes on. It says, interactions with youth presents a distinct set of challenges and opportunities for law enforcement. By implementing or building on existing community policing programs, law enforcement can have a positive influence on youth's perception of police and on police interaction with juveniles. This is necessary, very needed. We got another video for that too. Best practices and recommendations. Identify youths and other leaders in the community who can help bridge the gap between youth and law enforcement. Boom. Community Bridges Incorporated. I'm not making this up. Take advantage of various types of social media platforms that youth use. Build a multidisciplinary coalition of community partners. Whole community problems demand whole community solutions, period, regardless of what your personal opinion is, Mike McMillan. Law enforcement agencies should therefore take a collaborative approach to addressing challenges such as homelessness, mental health issues, and substance use disorders that permeate the criminal justice system, but also reach well beyond it. Specifically, law enforcement agencies should build a multidisciplinary network of close-knit partners who can take coordinated action in support of individuals and against the systemic challenges those individuals face. Community Bridges Incorporated. Okay, so in conclusion, because there's other stuff in there, I'm just not going to read all of it because I'm about done for now. Law enforcement agencies are fixtures in their communities. Modern day policing should facilitate partnerships and accountability in order to be most effective, both of which law enforcement agencies can nurture with community policing strategies as outlined in the Practices in Modern Policing resource series. For the full list of considerations and more information, download each of the 5 publications and view the 3 videos on the IACP website. Yeah, I looked at all of that stuff, and that's why I say the answers are out there. It's just a matter of them not wanting to hear the answers or to utilize it. Here's the grant information that I was telling you about. I think the applications were due June the 22nd for one part, and then June 15th was another part that it was due on. But I just like to show you all so you can go back and check it yourself. One day I'll get real fancy and know how to put the documents up on here. This is what the grant was for. I don't know if it's showing up. But anyways, as I was saying, my reason for doing the video was because, to be honest, because Miss Isabel, I'm sorry. Took so long to respond, but with Father's Day and everything else, dealing with my family and the passing of my father, life has been a little hectic. But I didn't want you to think that I was not going to come through and provide you the information that I have been working on for some time now, because I'm ready to see something different done. I want to try to do what is necessary to help our children. I have, like I said, I have children and grandchildren, and even though I started early, I was 15, the baby had a baby, but I had a grandmother, a couple of grandmothers and a family that, even though they were not perfect, they supported me and taught me, you made your bed, you made this baby, you're going to take care of this baby. It took another 10 years for me to have another child. A lot of people don't have that type of family environment. And it's up to the people, we the people, the public, just like Mr. McMillan was saying, it takes more than 2 people to maintain that. Well, it takes more than the school board to maintain our children, and they are our children. So it's time to clear out some space, because we're here. And in my opinion, Mr. McMillan needs to go, and a few other board members. But, if you're not going to get rid of them, you need to make them get in line and actually represent us and our children fairly, appropriately, using the information that the government has provided them. So if you don't want to use a third-party facilitator, just implement this stuff that's already out there. The practices in modern policing. Put that stuff into your MOA. And then add some humanity and some humility and some compassion. I think y'all be all right. But that has been missing all along, obviously. I'd love to see what Mr. McIntyre has to say about Mr. McMillan. That's going to be next. Something else I'm about to do. I'm about to ride by that farm and see for myself what it's even looking like now. Because, oh yeah, that's before I go, that's what I was going to share with y'all. Look. Okay, so we know he got cited for the animal cruelty. The charges by itself ain't nothing. Wait till, you know when they be publishing stuff like this on these websites, the comments be everything. Now let me just read you some of these comments. He should have given them away to someone who could take care of them. If he couldn't, that would certainly be better for the animals instead of them starving to death. That was a year ago. That part, I agree. And then, because somebody said something like, I see all these people bashing him, but not offering any help. Makes me wonder about them. I know some were raised around here. And so here comes somebody else talking about, don't you know people these days don't offer to help a neighbor anymore? That will require them to put the phones down and neglect their blog post. No, they just want your help, donation, or support. Real men used to go check on a neighbor and offer to help or talk to them about making some changes if they are having a hard time, but not when you have an axe to grind. This is not political for me, but more about human kindness. Now, this was just people commenting. I guess that's one of his little friends in the community. We want to help our community, our children. Mike, get out of the way. You can't even help your cattle. I said what I said. They said, offer help. Somebody said, offer help. I wish there was some emojis. Have you been by his mother's house lately? The way he has lived since his mother passed away is awful. Trashed it. Animals need taken away from him. They are starving. We are not bashing him. We are just telling the truth. Hello. He lives with a woman, but not at his mother's house, at her house. The place should be torn down. Sloppy, muddy mess. Last thing we need is him on the school board. Well, hello. I didn't even say this. This is the community speaking. The comment sections be everything. Let me hold up, and then we're going to go. But at the end of all of this, the point is, Kwame Brown, Devin George, check out their plan. Community Bridges Incorporated. Okay. Visionaires Incorporated. These are some people that I'm networking with. There's several more. We're doing work, but you all are not allowing us in the space that we need to be in to be helpful the right way, because you're trying to be stingy with the money and run off with all these retirements that you didn't deserve. Okay, so somebody said, if you cannot feed or water your animals, how can you be on a board of any kind? Good question. Here's enough. If you're not able to take care of them, sell them, or give them to someone that will take care of them. That part too. Somebody said, way overdue. He should sell them if he can't take care of them properly. Way too many for that property. Awful. Mr. McMillan, and you got so much to say. I'm going to need you to stay focused. Let me go over here and see an animal not looking right. I'm going to take pictures. I'm coming back. He said, this one said, anyone who is cruel to animals should never hold public office. If you can go to meetings and run for office, you can make time to care for the animals that depend on you. Mic drop. Boom. Oh, it said in here. Somebody was over here trying to take up for him. He has been a good community leader and a good person. I understand he's recovering from stage 3 cancer. I wish he would have reached out. He don't care about what nobody else dealing with. I don't understand that. How people that are so callous and so unaffected or unbothered by other people's pain and poverty and when they're being done wrong, how y'all expecting so many people to care about y'all when y'all feeling stuff? Treat people how you want to be treated. He ain't treating people how he want to be treated. So why should people treat him any different than what he's doing to them? I don't know what's going on with the man, but I know it's time for him to step down. And the community even says this, but y'all ain't listening to the community, but y'all representing the community. Make it make sense, please. Like dude said, anyone who is cruel to animals should never hold public office. If you can go to meetings and run for office, you can make time to care for the animals that depend on you. Ooh, he said, if he can't take care of his animals, you think he can care for kids' welfare? Hello, I didn't say this. They said it. I'm just reading. He said he should withdraw from running for any office, and if found guilty on animal cruelty, should get maximum jail time and fine. If guilty, it is sad. He has been a community leader. He's a has-been. Somebody said, this is nothing new. His cattle have been neglected for years. If this had been cats or dogs, his butt would be in jail. Well, they say what they said. Then somebody said, they called the person out to say something about him being sick. They say, it is sad, and it is sad that he is and has been sick, but that is no excuse for this level of neglect. I agree. He should have gotten rid of the cattle a long time ago. If you are unable or unwilling to care for your livestock, it's time to call someone for help. Animal neglect is 100% preventable. Somebody said, put his sorry ass in jail for it. Oh, Lord. Somebody said, the ones dropping dead in the field, ? The ones so sick they can't be sold at auction, ? This didn't happen overnight. This involves suffering. To deny there is a problem and refuse to take action is indicative of a larger problem. I agree. Somebody said, how hard is it to put large round bales of hay out once a week? No excuse. Anyone that would mistreat an animal is not a good person. Somebody said he doesn't have water for the animals. The place is disbelief. Anyway, Mike McMillan, I believe your time is up, sir. And anybody that's, following behind you on their vote pertaining to how our children are cared for or protected, it's time for them to go too. So, Community Bridges Incorporated. We're coming soon. We're a 501c3 tax exempt nonprofit. I'm just beginning to get my website reestablished now that I'm back in this area, and I'm going to be tailoring more of my focus on issues addressing, affecting this area. However, we are up and running and available for any questions that anybody may have. Miss Isabel, if you have any questions about the information that I shared in here, please don't hesitate to reach out. I will be forwarding you this video, and at your leisure, you can check it out. And hopefully the questions that you asked me about are answered in here as far as what next steps would look like. And there's another, I think it was, might have been on Amazon Prime. There was a documentary called Broken Places. that was very, very good, and provides a lot of information from professionals in different parts of the country that are working on these issues that affect the low income and poverty stricken communities. So it's time for us to really stop trying to put band aids on things and start trying to really see what's best for our children. One of the things that Kwame Brown is addressing is the need for um, skilled professionals. Like as far as back when we were growing up, we were able to learn things like skill trades, plumbing and engineering and auto mechanics and stuff like that. Well, now things are a little different. And so one of the main things that we want to push is coding classes for our children. You know, we need to do better with how to manage money, but if you don't have any money to manage, that's kind of like a wasted class. Um, we got to get our kids equipped to not come out of college in so much debt that they cannot even purchase their first home. We're setting because when they're coming from families that are low income, we don't have money to prevent them from getting these loans like some other families do. So we have to really get in and get to the root of a lot of this. Um, it's time for us to create the change that we want to see in the world. I'm willing. Are you? Peace.